Today is December 11th, which is actually my brother Ken's birthday, so happy birthday, Ken. It's also 320 hours until Christmas. Two good things happening today. But as kind of random things go, I have a thought of the day today. Everyone ever think that there is a different version of you that exists in minds of everyone else who knows you? I thought that was kind of curious. I read that today. So in today's briefing, we'll be covering the most recent trends that our threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. My name is Keith Wojciech, Global Head of Threat Intelligence. This week, we are joined by Senior Vice President George Glass, Vice President Dave Truman, Vice President Mukesh Nagar, Vice President Sarah Becker, and Analyst Avery Helwig from our Cyber Threat Intel team. So let's talk news you can use for December 11th, 2023. The default device and root certificate on Palo Alto Networks firewalls are set to expire on December 31st, 2023. Users should be aware that after this date, there's a risk of losing connectivity to specific cloud services and encountering limitations in performing data redistribution for functionalities such as user ID and host information. To ensure that uninterrupted access and functionality beyond the December 31st date, administrators must take specific actions to rotate the certificate before that deadline. So make sure you guys take a look. Let us know if you have any questions. CISA released an advisory about the threat actors exploiting CVE 2023-26360. It's a critical vulnerability in Adobe Cold Fusion. The threat actors gained initial footholds into the federal civilian executive branch environments between June and July of 2023. At this time, CISA did not attribute the activity to any specific group, but stand by. We'll see if we can update you in future briefings. So what are we going to cover today? So we're going to start with a little Snake vulnerability. We're going to get George talking about CACTUS ransomware. Dave's going to discuss some wireless vulnerabilities. Then we're going to get into AEROBLADE and Aerospace with Avery. And finally, but certainly not least of all, Sarah's going to talk about some Ransomware Roundup. So with that, Mukesh, I know we have another critical vulnerability in Snake. Can you tell us a little bit about the research you're working on?
Sure. So on December 5th, Atlassian released a security advisory informing all of its users to update a critical vulnerability that they identified within one of the libraries that they were using. This library that they were using is the SnakeYAML library in Java. The CVE for this is CVE 2022-1471, and it has a CVSS score of 9.8. The vulnerability itself lies within this library due to it's susceptible to a deserialization flaw, which can allow actors to send across a specially crafted malicious deserialized YAML payload and thereby triggering a remote code execution within the application, which would in return have potential severe consequences, including remote code execution as well as data exfiltration is potential. Atlassian did mention for this CVE, which they were vulnerable to, that their Atlassian cloud sites were not affected. However, there may be other applications which do use this library within their products. So we do recommend users, if they are suspicious on whether or not this library is used within the application, to contact the developers or software holders for this product and ask whether they are vulnerable or not, and if patches have been installed. That's it from me, Keith. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mukesh. George, in May, Dave wrote a really good article about discovering the ransomware variant CACTUS. We've identified some new intel. Can you tell us about what you're going to discuss today?
Yeah, thanks, Keith. CACTUS and Malvertising, two things we know quite a lot about these days. But CACTUS has been in the news quite a lot recently. Most recently, a piece of intelligence shared by Microsoft indicated that operators of the Danabot Trojan Danabot is a sort of a credential stealer remote access tool, much like sort of Quackbot and NicedID. We're actually working with the CACTUS group. We refer to them as KTA 255. And they were infecting users with a malvertising law. Now, we've done a lot of stuff on malvertising and SEO poisoning. Typically, malvertising can appear as an enticing pop-up, fake browser update, antivirus alert, so on and so forth, those sorts of things. Or SEO poisoning, putting those results to the top of Google search. It appears here that Danabot operators are using those laws, gaining initial access, stealing credentials, and then passing those off to CACTUS ransomware operators to perform the actual ransomware attack. So some interesting changes. When we covered CACTUS back in May, they were using VPN flaws. So potential change of tactic there for the CACTUS group. Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on it and update if there's anything else new. Back to you, Keith.
Thanks, George. Appreciate it. Hey, Dave. Now, I know Sierra is working through a number of vulnerabilities, some that are critical. What are you seeing today in the trenches with Sierra?
Yeah, thank you. Researchers at Forescout found 21 vulnerabilities in Sierra Wireless Airlink cellular routers. These operational technology network routers are used within critical infrastructure, including within energy, emergency services, transportation, and water and waste management. Of the 21 vulnerabilities found, 6 are remote code executions, including 1 critical buffer overflow with a CVSS rating of 9.6, 10 denial of service, 2 unauthorized access, 1 authentication bypass, and 2 cross-site scripting. Overall, there are 9 high and 1 critical vulnerabilities. 2/3 of the vulnerabilities were found in one component of the Airlink Enterprise Operating System, an open source captive portal called OpenNDS. Sierra Wireless has released new versions of the affected operating system streams. We recommend updating to the latest versions as soon as possible. It is also recommended that captive portals are placed behind web application firewalls to make it harder for threat actors to exploit these types of vulnerabilities. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Avery, you've been following kind of a unique threat actor here and with the way they're going about things, especially with Aerospace. What are you looking at AEROBLADE? What are they doing? How are they doing it? And what do you got for us to talk about an AEROBLADE today?
Yeah, good morning. So BlackBerry's threat research and intelligence team has uncovered this sophisticated threat actor dubbed as AEROBLADE, targeting a U.S. aerospace organization in what appears to be a commercial and competitive cyber espionage campaign. The attack utilizes spear phishing techniques, employing a weaponized document as an email attachment that housed an embedded remote template injection technique and malicious VBA macro code. The threat actor's network infrastructure became operational in September 2022, with the offensive phase occurring in July 2023. Throughout this period, the attacker redefined their toolset, emphasizing stealthiness while maintaining consistent network infrastructure. There were 2 distinct campaigns. The initial attack occurred in September 2022, and the second occurred in July 2023, both sharing similarities, including the naming convention of lure documents as redacted.docs, and using the use of a reverse shell as the final payload. However, the 2023 campaign demonstrated advancements, incorporating more anti-analysis techniques. Notably, the final payload of the 2023 attack featured the ability to list directories from infected victims, showcasing the increased capabilities. The threat actor's toolkit development indicated at least a year of activity. The nature of the attacks, coupled with the timeline and sophistication of the toolset, led BlackBerry to conclude with a high degree of confidence that this was a commercial cyber espionage campaign. The primary objective seemed to be gaining visibility into the target's internal resources, potentially for future ransom demands. The consistent interest displayed by the threat actor, along with the increased complexity observed in the second campaign, does suggest a sustained effort to secure access and successfully exfiltrate vulnerable information. That's all for me, Keith. Back to you.
Thanks, Avery. Really appreciate that. Sarah. let's talk ransomware. So Black Cat really has crossed some lines here with another healthcare attack, exploiting someone over and over again. I'm hoping you have some good news here by the end. I'm going to throw it over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Keith. I do have good news after we get through this last bit of information. Black Cat, also known as LV, they have been in the news quite a lot recently. Their most recent kind of post on their data leak site was declaring that they hit a healthcare company for a third time. So they were stating that they encrypted this healthcare company twice and they will attempt a third soon. The first attack occurred October 2023. The second attack was November 2023, and this was because negotiations failed. So the group is threatening a third attack, with the second one releasing 35 terabytes of sensitive data. So the shaming site posted what kind of details were going through the negotiations with the healthcare company and what the ransomware group planned to do next. We can see that within kind of the post, they're stating that they have prepared some screenshots of a portion of their data, and they believe it's data folders, customer information that contains DEA numbers, PII data. They're also saying that they have folders containing suppliers checking bank accounts. And they're saying that with this kind of big breach, they can expect a big, significant legal battle with upcoming lawsuits, in addition to regular data breaches. So with Black Cat in the news with all of these big kind of cyber attacks, there's some rumors now swirling, since the Black Cat shaming site has been offline for a long time. The rumors are the kind of possible dismantlement of the group by law enforcement. This hasn't been confirmed yet, but researchers are kind of going back and forth, trying to legitimize the rumors. There is a researcher specifically that is in contact with Black Cat. They have communication going back and forth. And apparently the ransomware group is saying that they are quote unquote migrating data and having server issues. So again, this isn't fully confirmed whether this is the end of the group or not. We can assume, though, that affiliates of this group, with all the rumors surrounding, are probably going to leave Black Cat and maybe move on to the next big thing. So we're going to keep up to date with this group and see what happens. That's all for me, Keith.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Yeah, some good news there. But if they sparse out, and who knows, they may start something new. But let's get these guys stopping what they're doing. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And a big thank you for everybody that has taken the time to tune into Kroll's weekly threat intelligence briefing. We hope you found this session informative. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to contact the team at cti@kroll.com. Enjoy the rest of your day, and make sure you tune into next week. Thanks again.